The following may not be appropriate for all audiences. Thank you, everyone, for joining us once again for the Low Fact Podcast. Dave and Matt coming at you here, tackling a topic that neither one of us is very equipped to handle.
It's a hard topic.
I don't know if intelligence is particularly hard. I just think that we've gotten so used to thinking about things a certain way, mainly because that has been the collective wisdom, the eons of info passed down, that might be to make people feel better about themselves about certain things. Because the whole idea that the higher you go in education, the more intelligent you are. And I think the dirty little secret is, no, that's not really true.
So there's a distinction between knowledge and intelligence.
I think there is.
But if you have a whole lot of knowledge, chances are you're probably going to be more intelligent.
Or if you have a whole lot of knowledge, you just went to school longer.
Yeah, but one would think that if you have that knowledge, then that would make you an asset.
You're presupposing that the collection of knowledge is dependent on raw intelligence.
No, I'm saying the collection of knowledge leads to intelligence.
No, I don't think it does.
Because, you would be able to, whatever situation came up, the more knowledge you have, the more capability you'd be able to use that knowledge to your advantage.
Maybe, maybe not. What if you're someone who can only just,
retain stuff?
Gain knowledge? And what if there's a situation where nothing that you've learned is comparable? I mean, under your idea that the more knowledgeable someone is about a subject, the more intelligent they are.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so what about a situation where like for the drafting of contracts, which people seem to think that all certain lawyers do is sit around and just make more contracts. If that were true, then all it is plugging in the right phrase for the right thing. And if something has come up before, then you just plug it in. What if you're needing to account for a situation that's never come up?
Then you would have to use your drafting skills as a lawyer.
Well, but
problem solving skills.
That even those may not necessarily be a sign of raw intelligence.
Just experience.
Well, according to the critical thinking deal, right? The more you think critically, the better you are at becoming a critical thinker. So, to me, that's kind of an artificial thing.
Critical thinking just means questioning stuff, right?
I don't know what it's supposed to mean.
But people use that expression all the time, too.
Sure, but what I'm saying is, a lot of the things that we attribute to quote-unquote intelligence to mean some kind of innate deal really just seems to be the result of usage and learning. For example, for someone to go through K through 16, does the person that doesn't want to finish all the way through college, is that person less intelligent than someone who goes through? I don't think so. Because it's not about intelligence. It's about how well you can sit still for an hour per class. And, on the young end, little girls are a lot better at sitting still than little boys are.
That's true.
Doesn't mean little girls are smarter. Actually, little girls do a lot better in school than boys do.
What about test taking? One would hope that the test would be a measure of intelligence.
The test is a measure of what they want to measure.
Which could be intelligence.
One hopes that the tests are for intelligence, but I don't think anyone really knows what intelligence is. We are all intelligent, even the ones that people say are stupid.
So when we have an expression in a book that says he or she had intelligent eyes or intelligent look to them, that just means nothing.
I think intuitively we know what that's supposed to mean. It's the definition is one that we all kind of know and gravitate towards.
Yeah, I mean, I know what that means when I read it. I'm like, yeah, I've had that experience with someone where I'm like, oh, this person seems intelligent.
But that's that may or may not be true. It's kind of artificial. I mean, it's like trying to describe the color red. Right?
Red.
Exactly. See, everybody for years and years and years and years, people pointed to that color and said, "This is red," in every language on Earth, and so now everyone knows in several languages what red is.
Yeah. If you were never taught what red was, you wouldn't know.
No, then you'd have to explain what red is. So that's like intelligence. You're trying to explain what intelligence is. But if you don't use the word intelligence, can you do it? I don't know. Because intelligence means a whole lot of things. It's like dude, except with
craftiness.
That's cunning is a form of intelligence.
Social intelligence is the one you mentioned last time.
Well, even then, I mean, it's still an intelligence.
Yeah, ability to kind of assess who's
Right.
who's higher than who on the totem pole.
And there are people that can't do that. I know people that are supposed to be superior intellects, and I'm thinking of the folks that say, "Oh, that guy's really smart," but he because you notice there are so many smart people, call it academics, whatever, and at the same time they are so stupid. Now, if you gave an academic who never lived outside of a city, dropped them in the woods and gave them a knife and said, "Go forth, survive," would that person be able to survive? Unknown.
Yeah.
If going to school and learning stuff was supposed to be this measure of intelligence, then maybe if that person had been reading about how to survive in the wilderness, yeah. But if it was a person that was just doing mathematics and only read books on mathematics and only learned about mathematical concepts, give that person a knife and drop them off in the middle of the Black Hills in South Dakota. Don't know.
Even if you had read about survival training, if you haven't been taught it, it's quite different, I would think.
Well, one would think that reading about it is part of teaching.
Yeah.
Learning. So, yeah, I mean, we're talking in circles about intelligence, and the more I think about it, the less I'm like, oh, this is so not entertaining. But it kind of is, because it's kind of fun to watch two stupid people try to talk about something they know nothing about.
It's so annoying.
Why is that annoying? I mean,
the annoying part is
I love sitting there
we didn't even
and
start
eavesdropping
the definition of intelligence
on people who sit there at another table talking about something that they know nothing about and trying to, intuit their way to an answer. That shit is funny.
So you think starting with the definition of intelligence from the dictionary wouldn't have been smart?
I don't know. That's a way to go. I mean, you have a propensity to sit there and want to classify things in boxes.
Yeah.
Which is a good way to live through life. I mean, it's a good cheat.
I mean,
But in living life, haven't you found that the boxes don't work? Well, not all the time.
That doesn't stop me.
Well, because if the box works 80% of the time, who cares about the other 20? When you talk to someone and think, oh, that person's a flaming leftist, or that person is uber conservative. And I've said this before to you in person and to our listeners. It is funny that, when I talk to someone who's very left, they think I'm conservative. When I talk to someone who's very conservative, they think I'm very left.
That's very odd.
So, in terms of political speaking, I guess I don't fit into a box, but that's just inconvenient for everybody else. I mean, you want to be able to...
Well, not only inconvenient, I think it's infuriating.
It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter because survival throughout the ages has really, really kind of depended on classifying things in the right box and then going with it. So...
But wait.
So is that intelligence? Is that, I mean, it's definitely a useful shortcut.
But one would think that probably at a certain point, that person, the adaptable person, maybe is not the person that puts it in boxes. Maybe they're the person that questions the boxes.
To what end? To what purpose?
Of saying maybe there's a different way of doing things, or maybe there's something that we don't know.
What if something works 95% of the time? Do you really care?
Depends on the situation.
No, do you really care? 95% of the time, it does not depend on the situation of this. For the purposes of this question, it doesn't. I didn't ask you, what if something works 95% of the time and this one time it doesn't? Do you really care? Well, of course you do. But you don't know. You don't know. And if chances are 95% of the time, the way you're operating, the boxes that you classify stuff into work, then, okay, so 5% of the time it doesn't work. So what? Why would I care? Well, I would care if in that 5% it causes to incredibly harsh consequences. But it doesn't. That's why people sit there and think, if so-and-so went to a super, super prestigious university, they must be smart. No. That's why people sit there and think, if someone is a doctor or a lawyer that practices out of a strip mall, they must not be that good. No. But 95% of the time, that's the way it is.
Well, what do you mean that?
Well, or maybe it's not even 95% of the time. We've kind of, if most of the time, really high achieving or folks that are really good at, I don't know, being a doctor, work at a giant hospital and don't have their tiny private practice office in a strip mall, then most people would sit there and say, I guess a doctor that works out of a strip mall is not a good doctor. But that's not always the case. But, for most of the time, because if you're going to be a doctor, the chances are you're trying to make a super good living. And the way to make a super good living is to be attached to some place that's has a reputation for being super good. And so the Mayo Clinic has a reputation for being super good. So if you got a doctor that works out of there, as opposed to a doctor that works out of, a rundown strip mall somewhere in East LA, that you would think that the Mayo Clinic guy or gal would be a much better physician than the strip mall in a rundown section of town.
Mm.
And, chances are that would be correct. But there are situations where it's incorrect. And then if it's flipped and the Mayo Clinic person is just a crappy doctor and the strip mall doctor is really great, then those folks that live close to this one doctor in the rundown area of town have scored a bonus because they got a super great doctor.
Yeah.
But, I guess my point on that thing as we're running longer is, it's not always the way things are. The whole don't judge a book by its cover is definitely true, but, if it's true enough at the time, people just don't care.
Mm.
And that's where perception is reality or focusing on the way something looks is, for the most part, it's right? Like poisonous fruits.
Right.
Or poisonous snakes. They have certain characteristics.
Yeah, they do.
Right?
Bright colors.
What?
Poisonous snakes.
What'd you say after that?
Bright colors.
Oh, okay. But there are non-poisonous snakes that kind of mimic the poisonous one. I'm talking in circles, and like I said before many times, I'm not that smart. So, me trying to talk about this stuff, probably not very educational, but entertaining because you can sit there and say, you know what? I just spent 15 minutes listening to a dumbass trying to describe what smartasses are. But anyway, it's getting too hot.
I'm crying.
I need to go to the pool or whatever.
My head hurts.
Thank you all for listening. I'm ignoring my colleague here because, today he has failed at, I don't know.
You've driven me to...
He can't even talk right.
My brain is broken.
That presupposes or assumes that at one point your brain was actually in good working order.
Right, enough of the noises.
Thank you, everyone. Please tune in again where we will try to be better.